Serena Blake was the kind of woman who looked like she had everything: wealth, beauty, power, and a future already written in gold. At 36, she moved through life like a polished brand. Designer clothes, a respected last name, and a family empire waiting for her to lead. But behind the shine was a quiet loneliness she never admitted 1,000 times. Everyone around her assumed she was living the dream. Yet Serena's life came with one painful rule. She did not become the next of her family's company unless she married and produced heirs. Her parents called it legacy. Serena called it a cage. And while she struggled under that pressure, across town lived Trenton Hayes, a hard-working mechanic raising his little brother Cameron with nothing but faith, dignity, and determination. Serena and Trenton came from two different worlds, but one storm, one betrayal, and one sacrifice would bring their destinies crashing together. That Sunday evening, the Blake estate looked peaceful from the outside. Bright porch lights, perfectly trimmed trees, and soft music floating through the windows. But inside, peace was the last thing Serena Blake felt. Serena was 36, a wealthy, accomplished Black American executive with a reputation for excellence. She had just changed out of her church outfit into a simple dress, hoping for a quiet night. Instead, she found her parents waiting like they'd scheduled a conversation. Her father, Vincent Blake, sat in his favorite chair in the living room, posture straight, expression serious. Vincent was in his early 60s, a powerful business owner who measured life by outcomes, profit, legacy, and control. Beside the fireplace stood her mother, Celeste Blake, elegant and composed, the kind of woman whose calm voice could still feel like pressure. Celeste smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Serena, sit with us, baby." Serena sat slowly, already sensing what was coming. "If this is about the company again, it's about your life." Celeste cut in gently. "And your future." Vincent's voice was firm. "You're almost 40. We need to stop pretending this isn't urgent." Serena blinked. "Urgent for who?" "For this family," Vincent replied. "For the Blake name, for the next generation." Serena's chest tightened. She had worked years for Blake International Holdings, building deals, earning trust, proving she wasn't just their daughter. She was capable. Yet, somehow, none of that seemed to matter as much as one thing. Celeste stepped closer, lowering her tone like she was offering comfort. "We want grandchildren. Serena, we want to see you settled with a husband who can lead with you." Serena gave a short laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was unreal. "So, my accomplishments mean nothing unless I have a ring." Vincent leaned forward. "Don't twist it." "I'm not twisting anything," Serena said, her voice steady but shaking underneath. "You're telling me marriage is a requirement." Celeste hesitated, then nodded. "The board policy says the next CEO must reflect family stability. Married, a respectable home." Serena stared at her mother. "You're saying I can't fully become CEO unless I'm married." Vincent's eyes didn't move. "Policies protect the company." Serena stood up slowly. "No, policies control women." A silence fell, the kind that made the room feel smaller. Celeste spoke again, softer this time. "You've had options, Serena. Plenty of good men." Serena remembered the options. Men who treated her like a prize to win. Men who sent gifts without knowing her favorite color. Men who talked about their money more than their character. "I've had rich men," Serena corrected. "Not good men." Serena went to her room and closed the door, breathing hard. She pulled out her phone and called her closest friend, Harper Cole, a stylish marketing executive in her early 30s, and Serena's best friend since college. Answered immediately. "Hey, you okay?" Serena swallowed. "They're forcing it. Harper. Marriage, a timeline, like I'm a project." Harper's voice softened. "I'm coming over tomorrow. We'll talk." Serena stared out her window at the clean, perfect estate grounds and whispered, "They've started the clock." Across town, in a modest apartment above a small auto shop, Trenton Hayes, a 40-year-old mechanic with tired hands and a quiet, steady heart, sat at a kitchen table helping his little brother. Camden Hayes, 9 years old and full of jokes and questions, frowned at a homework page. "Bro, why math got beef with me?" Trenton chuckled, even though he was exhausted. "Math don't have beef. You just don't want to read the problem." Camden grinned. Reading is a setup. Trenton shook his head with a small smile. But when his phone buzzed with another bill reminder, his expression dimmed. 2 different worlds, 2 different burdens, and neither of them knew that their lives were already moving toward the same storm. The following Saturday evening, the Blake estate was dressed up like it had something to prove. Bright lights on the driveway, soft music in the backyard, and servers moving smoothly between guests with trays of drinks. Serena stood near the window, watching strangers smile too hard and laugh too loud. She reminded herself to breathe. Harper Cole, her best friend, stayed close, her eyes scanning the crowd like a protective sister. Remember? Harper whispered, "You don't owe anybody your yes." Serena nodded, though her stomach still felt tight. "Tell that to my parents." Across the yard, Vincent Blake stood tall in a tailored suit, greeting influential guests like he was sealing deals. Celeste Blake floated beside him in a glittering dress, smiling proudly as if tonight was already a success. "Serena," Celeste called, waving her over. "Come meet someone." Serena forced a polite expression and walked over. Celeste led her to a tall man with perfect teeth and expensive confidence. "This is Preston Montgomery," Celeste said. "He's the son of Mr. Montgomery, one of our strongest investment partners." Preston was in his late 30s, smooth and polished, wearing a watch that looked like it cost more than a car. He extended his hand. "Serena Blake, I've heard you're the real brain behind the company." Serena shook his hand. "That's generous." Preston smiled as if he'd just scored a point. "Not generous. Accurate. I respect a woman who knows her value." Harper's eyebrow lifted slightly, like she could smell the performance. Preston continued, "We should talk more. You and I could be a powerful match." Serena pulled her hand back. "A match isn't the same as love." Preston chuckled. "Love grows after marriage. That's how it's supposed to be." Serena's smile stayed polite, but her heart wasn't in it. Preston wasn't rude. He just sounded like someone who believed everything important could be planned. Celeste beamed. Vincent watched from a distance, satisfied. Serena excused herself and walked away, needing air. She stepped toward the side of the house, where the noise was softer, the lights less blinding. That was when she noticed a man near the driveway, not dressed like the others. He wore a simple black button-down and plain shoes, but he stood with a calmness that didn't beg for attention. His face was handsome in a quiet way, like someone who didn't need approval to feel confident. He was speaking to one of the servers kindly, helping her steady a tray that almost tipped. Serena paused. The man turned and met her eyes. "You okay?" he asked, voice gentle. Serena blinked, caught off guard by the sincerity. "I'm fine." He gave a small smile. "You don't look fine. You look cornered." Serena exhaled sharply. "Is it that obvious?" "It is to someone who's been cornered before," he said. Before Serena could respond, Harper appeared behind her. "Serena, your mom is looking." Harper stopped mid-sentence, her eyes moving to the man. "Who are you?" The man straightened politely. "Name's Damon Pierce," he said. "I'm a friend of friend." "I wasn't sure I'd fit in, honestly." Serena studied him. Damon's tone wasn't thirsty. He didn't boast. He didn't shine his wealth because he didn't seem to have any to show. "What do you do, Damon?" Serena asked. He hesitated just slightly. "A little of this, a little of that. I'm building." Something about that answer felt humble. Maybe too humble. But Serena's heart, already tired of polished men, leaned toward it. Harper's eyes narrowed, protective. "Building what?" Damon laughed softly. "My life." Serena surprised herself by smiling. A real one. Meanwhile, at the edge of the driveway, Damon's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen quickly, then flipped it face down. He didn't see Serena notice, and he didn't hear Harper's quiet warning as she leaned close to Serena's ear. "Just be careful," Harper murmured. "Some people wear humility like a costume." Serena watched Damon again, calm, gentle, present, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something she couldn't explain. Hope. But in another part of the city, Damon's phone buzzed again, this time with a message that wasn't sweet at all. A name flashed across the screen. Simone Cruz. Later that night, After the last guest had complimented the Blake estate, and the music finally faded, Serena lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The gathering had ended, but her mind wouldn't. Preston Montgomery's confident voice replayed in her head. Powerful match. Love grows after marriage, and it made her feel like she was being recruited, not cherished. Yet the calm presence of Damon Pierce had felt different. He hadn't pushed. He hadn't performed wealth. He had simply looked at her like a person. Serena turned to her nightstand and saw her phone light up. A text from Damon. I'm glad I met you tonight. You looked like you needed someone in your corner. Her heart softened despite her better judgment. Down the hall, Celeste Blake stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching Serena with the kind of smile that carried expectation. He's a nice surprise, Celeste said carefully. Damon. Serena sat up. You invited him. Celeste hesitated. A friend of a friend suggested him. Not every good man has to come from a billionaire family. Serena narrowed her eyes. That's new for you. Celeste's smile tightened. We're learning, but don't mistake kindness for carelessness. You will still choose wisely. Serena didn't respond. Celeste left, but the pressure stayed, thick as a blanket. Serena stared at Damon's message again and whispered to herself, maybe this is what real looks like. Across town, Damon sat in the driver's seat of an older sedan, parked under a street light behind a small apartment building. The glow from his phone lit his face as it buzzed again, this time not with warmth but demands. Simone Cruz was calling. Damon sighed before answering. Simone. Simone's voice came sharp through the speaker. Simone was in her early 30s, stylish, impatient, and used to getting what she wanted. So you met her, right? You got close. Damon glanced around, lowering his voice. I met her. She's not stupid. Simone. She's actually different. Different doesn't matter. Simone snapped. Money is money. Damon tightened his grip on the phone. You said we'd do this clean, quick, no drama. Simone laughed dry and mean. Drama is you getting soft. A knock hit Damon's window. He flinched and looked out. A tall man leaned down with a smirk. Julian Pierce, Damon's cousin. Julian was mid-30s, slick, sharp-eyed, and always dressed like he had somewhere important to be. He had the kind of confidence that came from never feeling guilty. Damon cracked the window. What are you doing here? Julian's smile widened. Making sure you don't mess up our blessing. Damon turned back to the phone. I'll call you later, Simone. Don't call, execute. Simone hissed before hanging up. Damon ended the call and stepped out of the car. Julian circled him like an inspector. You were supposed to have her hooked tonight, Julian said. I heard she's under pressure to marry. That's a golden door. Damon frowned. She's a person, Julian, not a door. Julian chuckled. And you're a mechanic of emotions. Now listen, you want out of your struggling life or not? Damon's shoulders tensed. I want a better life. Yes, but not like this. Julian leaned closer, voice lowering. You already started. Finish. Get her to trust you. Get the ring. Once the money moves, we vanish. Damon looked away, jaw tight. In the distance, laughter drifted from a balcony above them. Someone living a life Damon had never been invited into. Julian tapped Damon's chest lightly, like sealing a deal. Don't fall in love. Fall in line. The next morning, Serena sat at her kitchen island, scrolling through messages. Harper's warning echoed in her head. Some people wear humility like a costume. Then, a new message popped up from Damon. Can I take you to dinner? Somewhere simple. No pressure. Serena stared at the screen a long moment. Her heart wanted peace. Her mind wanted proof. She typed back slowly. Okay, but I'm watching everything. Serena didn't know it yet, but the moment she hit send, two stories quietly collided. One built on hope and one built on a lie. A week after the gathering, Serena's life began to feel strangely quiet, like the world had lowered its volume just enough for her to hear her own thoughts again. Damon Pierce had become consistent, not flashy, not loud. He texted good morning, asked about her day, and picked simple places for dinner. Small restaurants with warm lighting and normal people. No cameras, no show. For the first time in a long time, Serena felt like she could breathe. Even Harper Cole admitted cautiously that Damon wasn't acting like the typical rich chaser. Still, Harper never stopped watching him. She watched his pauses, his wording, the way he sometimes glanced at his phone as if it weighed more than it should. One Friday night, Damon came to Serena's townhouse with takeout and a smile. They ate on the couch, laughing softly at an old comedy. When Serena teased him about how he avoided fancy places, he shrugged. "I like simple," he said. "Simple is honest." Serena leaned into that sentence like it was a promise. Later, after midnight, they fell asleep. Serena curled on one side of the bed, Damon on the other. The room quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner. Then Damon's phone lit up once, twice, again. The buzzing didn't stop. Serena stirred half asleep and heard Damon whispering low and urgent. At first, she thought he was talking to someone about work. Then she caught a name. Simone. Not right now. Serena's eyes opened fully. She didn't move. She didn't breathe too loud. She listened. A woman's voice crackled through the speaker, sharp, annoyed, and too familiar to be harmless. "Not right now, Damon. Are you forgetting what this is? You said she's falling for you?" Damon sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I'm handling it." "Handling it?" The woman snapped. "I'm not sitting around while you play Prince Charming. Where are we with the money? When are we getting paid?" Serena's heart stopped. Damon's voice dropped even lower. "You promised me we wouldn't talk like this when I'm with her." "With her?" The woman laughed, ugly and careless. "Boy, she ain't yours. She's our opportunity." Julian said, "Once you lock it in, we move fast. We take what we came for, and we're gone." Serena's stomach turned cold. Damon whispered, "Stop saying Julian's name." But the woman, Simone, kept going like she wanted Serena to hear on purpose. "Don't get soft, Damon. Remember the plan. Marriage, access, money. Then we disappear. I'm not losing my future because you caught feelings." Silence hit the room like thunder. Serena sat up slowly, her body trembling. Damon turned and froze when he saw her eyes wide, wounded, awake. "Serena," he started. She reached for the lamp and switched it on. Light flooded the room, exposing everything. His panic, his guilt, his lies. Serena's voice came out steady, but broken. "Who is Simone?" Damon swallowed. "It's not what it sounds like." Serena laughed once, hollow. "You literally just explained it." Damon sat up, shaking his head fast. "Please let me talk." "No." Serena cut him off, her eyes burning. "You don't get to talk your way out of using me." Damon reached for her hand. Serena pulled away like his touch was heat. "I thought you were real," she whispered. "I thought you were different." Damon's face tightened. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "That's the worst part," Serena said, voice rising. "Because it did go this far. You stayed. You smiled. You let me trust you." Damon's eyes watered, but Serena didn't soften. She stood and pointed toward the door. "Get out." Damon stared at her like he couldn't believe she meant it. "Now," Serena repeated. Damon moved slowly, grabbing his jacket, his phone, his shoes. At the door, he turned back, desperate. "Serena, I'm sorry." Serena's voice cracked for the first time. Sorry doesn't unbreak people. The door closed. Serena locked it, then slid down against it, shaking. Tears fell fast. Hot. Unstoppable. Within minutes, her phone rang. The caller ID read, Celeste Blake. Serena answered, voice trembling. "Mom." Celeste's tone was calm. Too calm. "Did it happen?" Serena's throat tightened. "Yes." A pause. Then Celeste said the words that finished the wound. "We warned you, Serena. People with nothing will always try to take from people who have everything." Serena closed her eyes, tears falling harder. And in that moment, her heartbreak didn't just become pain. It became a belief. The following Thursday evening, Dallas wore a heavy sky. Gray clouds stacked high. Rain falling in sheets that blurred headlights and street signs. Serena drove slowly through the downpour, hands tight on the steering wheel. Her jaw clenched like she could hold her life together by force. Since Damon, she hadn't cried in public again. She'd worked longer hours, spoken less, and smiled only when she had to. The pain hadn't disappeared. It had hardened. Her mother's words still echoed in her head, like a cruel hymn. People with nothing will always try to take from people who have everything. Serena hated that sentence, but some part of her feared it was true. Lightning flashed. A second later, her dashboard lit up with warnings. Then her car jerked. The engine sputtered like it was choking. No. Serena breathed, tapping the brakes. Not tonight. The car rolled to a shaky stop on the shoulder. Rain hammered the windshield. Serena tried the ignition again. It clicked, coughed, then died. She stared forward, blinking fast. For a moment, she felt small, alone in a storm, stuck on a dark road with her thoughts. She grabbed her phone. No service, of course. Serena looked out at the empty stretch of street, rain bouncing off asphalt. She wrapped her coat tighter and stepped out. Immediately drenched, she popped the hood even though she didn't know what she was looking for. Steam rose up in the rain like her car was sighing. Headlights appeared behind her. A vehicle slowed, pulled over, and stopped a few yards back. Serena's body tensed instantly. A tall man stepped out and walked toward her with cautious calm, hands visible. He wore a dark hoodie and jeans, shoulders broad, posture tired. Rain soaked him too, but he didn't rush her. He kept a respectful distance. "Ma'am," he called over to Rain, voice steady. "You okay?" Serena turned sharply. "I'm fine." The man nodded slowly. "Your hazard lights are on and your hood's up. That usually means not fine." Serena hesitated, irritation mixing with fear. "I don't need help. I'm not here to bother you," he said. "Just making sure you're safe." He stepped closer, still careful. "My name's Trenton Hayes. I run a mechanic shop a few blocks from here." Serena's stomach tightened at the word mechanic. Her mind immediately ran to Damon, to Simone's voice, to her parents' warnings. "Let me start over." Trenton studied her, then gave one small nod. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a door cracking open, and Serena felt it. Some apologies don't end a story. Some apologies begin one. 2 days after Serena's apology, she found herself thinking about Hayes' automotive more than she expected. Not the smell of oil or the clatter of tools, though those were oddly comforting, but the feeling she'd had standing there, like life could be simple and honest again. So on Tuesday afternoon after work, she drove back. This time she didn't come with guilt. She came with entreating glance at the engine, then back at her. "If you want, I can take a look." Could be something simple. Serena crossed her arms, rain dripping from her hair. "And what would you want in return?" Trenton blinked. "Nothing. Just help." Serena's laugh came out bitter. "Right. That's what you all say." Trenton's brows pulled together. "What do you mean, you all?" Serena felt the heat in her chest rise. People who pretend to be humble so they can get close, so they can find a way in. Trenton stared at her like she'd slapped him with words. "Ma'am, I don't know you." "I know your type." Serena snapped, the storm feeding her anger. Poor men always look for holes in rich people's lives. "You think if you act nice, you'll get something." Trenton's face tightened. Hurt flickered across his eyes. Quick but real. Then he looked down at the engine again, exhaled, and nodded once like he was choosing peace over pride. "I'm not asking for your money," he said quietly. "But I'm also not going to argue with you." He reached into his truck and grabbed a small flashlight and a toolkit. Without another word, he checked the battery, wiped water off the connections, and worked like someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Serena stood there, soaked and silent, watching him. Part of her wanted to keep hating him. Another part of her, small but stubborn, noticed something uncomfortable. Trenton didn't flirt. He didn't push closer. He didn't try to impress her. He just worked. After a few minutes, he stepped back. "Your battery connection is loose, and the alternator's acting up. I can get you started, but you'll need a proper fix soon." Serena stared. "Why are you still helping me after what I said?" Trenton's voice was low. "Because leaving you stranded in a storm would make me the kind of man you think I am." He turned the key from the driver's seat, and the engine rumbled back to life. Serena's throat tightened. She wanted to say, "Thank you," She wanted to apologize, but pride and pain beat her to it. She opened her door and said coldly, "I didn't ask for your help." Trenton stepped back from the rain, eyes heavy. "No, you didn't." Then he walked away toward his truck without another word. Shoulders stiff, dignity bruised. Serena drove off, rain trailing behind her, but the storm didn't follow her home. It stayed inside her. The next morning, sunlight streamed through Serena's bedroom curtains like it was trying to erase last night's storm. But Serena's mind wouldn't clear. Every time she replayed the roadside scene, she didn't just remember the rain. She remembered Trenton Hayes' eyes when she said those words. Poor men always look for holes. Serena sat at the edge of her bed, embarrassed by how easily bitterness had taken her mouth hostage. Trenton could have left her there. He didn't. He helped her anyway, quietly, respectfully, like kindness was simply who he was, and she had repaid him with cruelty. By noon, Serena couldn't stand the guilt anymore. She grabbed her keys and drove across town, following the address she'd spotted on a sign near Trenton's truck the night before. Hayes Automotive was nothing like the polished buildings she lived inside. It was a modest shop with a faded sign, 2 open bays, and the smell of oil and metal in the air. But it also felt alive. Customers talking, workers laughing, music playing softly from an old speaker. Serena stood at the entrance for a moment, suddenly unsure. She didn't belong here, but she came anyway. Inside, a small boy sat at a front desk, swinging his legs like they couldn't hold still. He had bright eyes, a wide grin, and a notebook open in front of him like he was pretending to work. That was Camden Hayes, 9 years old, Trenton's little brother, curious, energetic, and clearly the kind of kid who could turn any quiet room into a conversation. Camden looked up and squinted at Serena. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, trying to sound grown. Serena blinked, caught off guard. I'm looking for Trenton Hayes." Camden's face lit up. "That's my brother. He fixes cars and also fixes my attitude sometimes." Serena let out a small laugh before she could stop it. "He does?" "Yeah," Camden said seriously, then leaned closer like sharing a secret. "But my attitude is strong. It fights back." Serena smiled, an actual smile. "I can tell." Camden pointed at her outfit. "You look like you work in one of those tall buildings where people walk fast and don't blink." Serena chuckled. "That's accurate." Camden nodded wisely. "My teacher says fast walking is a sign of stress." Serena raised an eyebrow. "Your teacher sounds smart." Camden grinned. "She is, but I'm smarter. I just don't like homework." Serena laughed again, feeling tension loosen in her shoulders for the first time all week. A voice came from behind her, calm, familiar, and guarded. "What are you doing here?" Serena turned. Trenton Hayes, 40, stood a few feet away, wiping his hands with cloth. In daylight, he looked even more tired than she'd noticed in the rain. Tired in a responsible way, like the world leaned on him often. His expression was neutral, but his eyes were cautious. Camden's grin widened. "Bro, she came looking for you. That's suspicious." "Camden," Trenton warned softly, but the boy only giggled. Serena swallowed. "Trenton, I came to apologize." Trenton's jaw tightened. "For what?" "For last night," Serena said, voice steady. "For assuming the worst of you. For insulting you when you were only trying to help." Trenton stared at her a long moment. Then he glanced at Camden, who was watching like this was the best show on earth. Trenton lowered his voice. "You don't know me, so why did you say what you said?" Serena's eyes dropped. "Because someone hurt me, and I let that hurt shape how I see people." Trenton's expression didn't soften fully, but something shifted. "That's not an excuse," he said, "but it's honest." Serena nodded quickly. "You're right. It's not an excuse. I just needed you to know I'm sorry." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "And I want to pay you for the help." Trenton's eyes flicked to the envelope, then back to her. "Keep it." Serena blinked. "Trenton, I didn't help you for money," he said firmly. "And I'm not taking money to make you feel better." Camden leaned toward Serena and whispered loudly. "He does that. He acts tough, but he's soft on the inside." "Camden," Trenton repeated, but this time there was a hint of a smile fighting its way through. Serena looked at Trenton, her voice quiet. Then let me do this the right way. Tension. Serena parked outside the shop and stepped in holding a small bag. Trenton Hayes, 9 years old and full of energy, looked up from the front desk like he'd been waiting. "You came back," Camden announced loud enough for the whole shop to hear. "I knew you would. People don't laugh twice in here and just disappear." Serena smiled. Hi, Camden." He leaned forward and squinted at the bag in her hand. "Is that food? Because if it's food, you are officially my favorite visitor." "It's snacks," Serena admitted. "And I brought one extra, in case Trenton says no." Camden slapped the desk. "Smart. My brother always says no first." From the back bay, Trenton Hayes appeared, wiping his hands again like that was his habit whenever emotions might show up. He stopped when he saw Serena. "Your car already acting up again?" Trenton asked, tone dry. "No," Serena said quickly. "I just came by." Trenton raised an eyebrow. "For what?" Serena lifted the bag slightly. "Peace offering and snacks for your assistant." Camden gasped dramatically. "She called me an assistant. Bro, I'm moving up in the world." Trenton tried to look annoyed, but his mouth twitched. "Camden, go sit down." Camden sat, but not quietly. He unwrapped a snack like it was a celebration. Serena glanced around the shop. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt real. Men were working, laughing, helping customers. She realized something that made her chest ache. Trenton's world didn't have luxury, but it had community. Trenton nodded toward a chair near the desk. "Sit if you're going to stand there looking lost." Serena sat, surprised he'd invited her to stay. For a few minutes they talked about small things. How the rain had flooded certain streets. How Camden's school loved to send home urgent notes that were never urgent. Serena laughed more than she expected. Trenton didn't smile easily, but when he did, it looked like relief. Then Camden suddenly asked, "So, Miss Serena, are you rich?" Serena blinked, caught off guard. Trenton turned sharply. "Camden." Camden held up his hands. "It's a question. I'm a curious person." Serena chuckled softly. "I'm comfortable." Camden nodded like he understood everything. "Okay, because my brother says money is like soap. If you hold it too tight, it slips away." Serena looked at Trenton. "He really said that?" Trenton sighed once. After he tried to hide his allowance in the bathroom, and it got wet, Camden grinned proudly. Still wisdom. Serena laughed. Then her expression softened. "Camden, do you miss your mom?" The question came out gently, but the air shifted. Camden's grin faded for a second. He shrugged, small shoulders lifting. "I don't know her like that. Trenton is my main person." Serena's heart squeezed. Trenton's eyes lowered, his voice quiet. "Camden, go in the back and check on the vending machine. See if it's still broken." Camden hopped down. But before he ran off, he pointed at Trenton and whispered to Serena, "He's sending me away so he can do grown-up talking." Then he disappeared with a playful dash. Trenton leaned on the counter, looking tired in a way that wasn't about work. "He doesn't need sad conversations," Trenton said. "He needs stability." Serena nodded slowly. "You're raising him alone." Trenton's jaw tightened. "Yeah." Serena hesitated. "That's a lot." Trenton let out a breath. "It is, but he's my brother, and he didn't ask for any of this." Serena's voice softened. "Neither did you." Trenton looked at her, then really looked, and for the first time his guarded expression eased. "Why are you here, Serena?" he asked. Not harsh, just honest. Serena swallowed. "Because you helped me when you didn't have to, and I treated you wrong, and I don't want to be that kind of person anymore." Trenton studied her a moment. Then he nodded once. "Okay," he said quietly. "Then don't be." Outside, the afternoon sun warmed the pavement. Inside the shop, something small and fragile began to grow, built not on gifts or image, but on truth, laughter, and second chances. The following Saturday afternoon, Serena found herself doing something she hadn't done in years. She was at a public park with a paper bag of snacks, comfortable shoes, and no scheduled breathing down her neck. She spotted them near the swings. Trenton Hayes, 9 years old and full of bold energy, was racing back and forth with a juice box in his hand, like it was fuel for speed. Nearby, Trenton Hayes, his 40-year-old brother and guardian, sat on a bench, watching him with the alert calm of a man who never fully relaxed. Even in casual clothes, Trenton carried responsibility like it was part of his posture. Camden noticed Serena first and shouted, "Miss Serena!" loud enough for birds to scatter. Serena laughed and waved. "Hi, Camden." Camden sprinted over, stopped dramatically, and pointed at her bag. "Please tell me you brought snacks again because my stomach is requesting support." "I did," Serena said, amused, "but you have to share with Trenton." Camden sighed like that was a hard sacrifice. "Fine, I'll bless him." Trenton stood as Serena reached him. "You didn't have to come out here," he said, but his tone wasn't cold. It sounded careful. "I wanted to," Serena replied honestly. "Besides, Camden invited me." Camden nodded proudly. "I'm a community builder." Trenton gave him a look. "You learned that word from TV." Camden smiled. Still true. They spent the next hour in simple joy. Camden playing, Serena laughing, Trenton occasionally joining in with small smiles he tried to hide. Serena realized she liked seeing him like this, away from engines and bills, just a man who cared for his little brother. Eventually, Camden ran off to a group of kids playing tag. Trenton and Serena sat on the bench watching. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was gentle. Serena spoke first. "You never really told me how you ended up raising Camden." Trenton's eyes stayed on the field. "It's a long story." "I'm not in a rush," Serena said softly. Trenton hesitated, then nodded once. "Our mom wasn't around the way she should have been. Life got messy. I was already grown, working, trying to keep the shop alive. When Camden needed somebody steady, it became me." Serena's chest tightened. "That's a lot to carry." Trenton's jaw flexed. "Yeah, and it cost me more than people see." Serena glanced at him. "Vanessa." Trenton's eyes flicked to her. Surprised, she remembered. "You've heard about that?" "I picked up pieces," Serena admitted. "And I don't want to assume." Trenton exhaled slowly. "Vanessa Reed was my girlfriend for a while. She liked the idea of me until she saw the reality. Bills, responsibility, Camden. She wanted restaurants and trips. I wanted stability." He paused, voice lower. "She said I'd never be enough. Said I was stuck and small. Then she left like my love was a burden." Serena felt anger rise. Not at Trenton, but at the cruelty of it. That was wrong. Trenton nodded, eyes still forward. "I didn't hate her. I just learned something. Some people only love what looks good." Serena swallowed hard because that sentence hit her too. Damon, the scam, the humiliation still living in her chest. She turned her face slightly away. "I know what that feels like." Trenton looked at her now. "You want to talk about it?" Serena hesitated, then spoke carefully. "A man named Damon made me believe he was honest. He wasn't. He had a girlfriend. They planned to take my money and leave." Trenton's expression tightened, not with judgment, but with understanding. "That's why you said what you said in the rain." Serena nodded. A few seconds later, Vanessa's voice cut through the park. The world seemed to pause. Vanessa Reed stood with her arms folded, chin lifted, wearing the kind of confidence that didn't ask permission. She was Trenton's ex, mid-30s, glamorous and sharp-tongued, the woman who had once called his life too small and walked away when responsibility showed up. Trenton's posture tightened, like someone had pulled an old scar open. Serena rose slowly from the bench. She didn't know Vanessa well, but she recognized the energy immediately. Someone who entered a space to take control of it. Vanessa's eyes moved over Serena's outfit, then her face, then settled on Trenton. "You really out here playing family man in the park?" she said, voice sweet, but edged. "With a new friend?" Trenton's voice stayed low. "Vanessa, don't do this." Vanessa laughed softly. "Don't do what?" "Speak." "I'm allowed to speak." Serena kept her tone polite. "Hi, I'm Serena." Vanessa didn't shake her hand. She just smiled like she'd already decided what kind of person Serena was. "Serena," she repeated slowly. "That name sounds expensive." Trenton exhaled through his nose, controlled. "She's a friend." Vanessa tilted her head. "A friend who's sitting with you at the park?" A friend you're looking at like you forgot how to breathe? Trenton's jaw clenched. Stop. Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice as if she was doing Trenton a favor. Look, Trenton, I'm not here to fight. I was just surprised. That's all. Serena's eyes flicked towards Camden in the distance, still playing tag with other kids, safe, laughing, unaware. Serena was grateful for that. Camden didn't need tension thrown into his joy. Trenton nodded toward the field. Camden's here. Keep it respectful. Vanessa's expression shifted for a split second. Annoyance, maybe jealousy. Then she smoothed it into a smile. Of course I'm respectful. Serena could tell that was a performance. Vanessa turned to Serena again. So what do you do, Serena? Serena answered evenly. I'm in business. Vanessa's eyebrows lifted. That's vague. Serena didn't bite. It's enough. Trenton glanced at Serena, a quiet appreciation in his eyes, as if he was grateful she didn't need to prove anything. Vanessa noticed that glance. Her smile sharpened. Trenton always liked women who talk like they run the world. She said, almost nostalgic. Then her eyes narrowed. But the world doesn't run on feelings. It runs on reality. Trenton's voice grew firm. Vanessa, why are you here? Vanessa hesitated like she hadn't expected to be questioned. Then she sighed dramatically. Fine. Reality. Reality is I've been thinking. Trenton's expression stayed guarded. Thinking about what? Vanessa's tone softened into something almost convincing. About you. About us. About how I left. Serena's stomach tightened. She watched Trenton's face closely. Vanessa continued. I was young. I wanted more. I thought love was supposed to look like luxury. I didn't understand what you were carrying. Trenton didn't respond. He just stared, waiting. Vanessa took another step closer, voice quieter. I miss you, Trenton. Serena felt Trenton's shoulders stiffen again, not from temptation, but from the weight of an old memory. Trenton finally spoke. You didn't miss me when rent was due, or when Camden needed school supplies, or when the shop almost closed. Vanessa's eyes flashed. I didn't know it was that bad. Trenton shook his head slowly. You knew. You just didn't care. Vanessa's face tightened. Then she glanced at Serena with a hint of irritation. So she's your what? Your new support system? Serena met her gaze calmly. I'm not here to replace anybody. I'm here because Trenton is a good man. Vanessa laughed once, bitter. Good men don't pay bills, sweetheart. Trenton's voice rose slightly, still controlled. That's enough. Vanessa stared at him, surprised by his firmness. At that moment, Camden came running back, breathing hard, cheeks bright. Bro, Miss Serena, I won. He stopped when he saw Vanessa. His smile faded into confusion. Who's that? Trenton's voice softened instantly. Camden, this is Vanessa. Someone I used to know. Vanessa forced a bright smile for Camden. Hi, baby. Camden blinked. Okay. Serena noticed Camden shift closer to Trenton, instinctive, and in that small movement, Trenton made a quiet decision with his body, even before he spoke it aloud. He stepped slightly in front of Camden, protective. Then Trenton looked at Vanessa and said, clear and final, you can't come back into my life like you never left. Vanessa's smile faltered, and for the first time, Serena saw it. Trenton wasn't just fixing cars. He was fixing boundaries, and the test of his heart had only just begun. The next evening, Trenton's small apartment above Hayes Automotive felt quieter than usual. The kind of quiet that came after tension, after a moment you couldn't undo. Camden Hayes, 9, sat cross-legged on the living room rug with his game controller in hand. But he wasn't really playing. His eyes kept drifting toward Trenton, who stood by the kitchen sink, rinsing dishes that didn't need rinsing. Camden finally spoke. Bro, that lady from the park, she made the air feel weird. Trenton paused, then nodded. Yeah, she did. Camden frowned. Was she your girlfriend? Trenton turned, leaning against the counter. A long time ago. Camden's eyes widened. Did she hurt you? Trenton blinked at the question. Not because it was wrong, because it was honest. She didn't hurt me with her hands. Trenton said carefully, but her words did, and her choices did. Camden held the controller tighter. Why would somebody do that? Trenton exhaled. Sometimes people love what's easy, and when love gets hard, they leave. Camden's face scrunched up. That's messed up. Trenton almost smiled. Yeah, it is. A knock sounded downstairs at the shop door. Trenton glanced at the clock. They were closed. Camden perked up. Is it Ms. Serena? Trenton's heart skipped in a way he didn't want to admit. Stay here, he told Camden, then headed down. When Trenton opened the door, Serena stood there with a small paper bag in one hand and a nervous expression on her face. The streetlight behind her made her look softer than she did in her corporate world, less guarded, more human. Serena, Trenton said, surprised. Everything okay? Serena nodded quickly. Yes, I want to check on you after yesterday. Trenton stepped back to let her in. Come in. Inside the shop, the smell of metal and oil was familiar. But tonight, the place felt different, like it was holding a conversation instead of tools. Serena set the bag on the counter. I brought dinner. Nothing fancy, just food. Trenton studied her face. You didn't have to. I know, Serena swallowed. But I wanted to. Camden appeared at the top of the stairs, peeking like a curious cat. Trenton waved him down. Camden hurried over, eyes bright. Miss Serena, Camden shouted. Then he glanced at the bag. Food. Serena laughed softly. Yes, food. Camden nodded seriously. I respect you. They ate at the small table in the corner of the shop. Trenton quiet at first, Camden doing most of the talking like he always did. Camden explained his tag victory in full detail, then asked Serena if rich people ever played tag. Serena smiled. Not enough. They should. After Camden ran upstairs to grab something, Serena's expression grew more thoughtful. That woman, Serena said quietly. She didn't come to apologize. She came to test your door. Trenton's eyes lifted. Yeah. Serena leaned forward slightly. And you closed it. Trenton's voice was calm. I had to. If I let someone back in who only values me when I'm useful, I'm teaching Camden the wrong lesson. Serena's chest tightened at the mention of Camden. You're a good man, Trenton. Trenton looked away briefly. People say that when they want something. Serena's brows pulled together. That's not why I'm saying it. Trenton met her eyes again, cautious. Then why are you here, Serena? Really? Serena inhaled slowly. Because yesterday I saw something. Trenton waited. I saw how you protect Camden. Serena continued. How you don't chase approval. How you set boundaries without being cruel. And it made me realize I've been living the opposite. Trenton's expression softened a fraction. Serena's voice lowered. My parents are planning another match for me. Another man. Another arrangement. Trenton nodded once like he'd expected it. Preston. Serena blinked. You know his name? Trenton gave a small, humorous smile. In this city, certain names float everywhere. Serena looked down at her hands. I'm tired, Trenton. I'm tired of being treated like a brand. Trenton's voice was quiet. Then stop letting them. Serena looked up, eyes shining. That's what I'm trying to do. A silence fell, gentle but heavy with meaning. Upstairs, Camden's voice called down. Bro, Miss Serena, y'all talking like a serious movie again. Serena laughed through the tension. Trenton shook his head, but this time there was warmth in it. Then Trenton said, soft but clear, if you want a different life, Serena, it'll cost you comfort. Serena nodded, swallowing hard. I know. And in that moment, Serena didn't just bring dinner. She brought a choice. And Trenton, still healing, still careful, realized that some doors were meant to stay closed so the right ones could finally open. All right, Hope family. That brings us to the end of part 1. But here's what's coming in part 2. Serena is ready to take a big step, introducing Trenton to her family. The question is, will they finally see his heart or will they reject him because of his status? And what happens when pressure, pride, and old beliefs collide with real love? Do you think Trenton will be strong enough to face her family? Do you think Serena will stand up for him this time? And how will Camden react when things get tense? Let's talk in the comments. I really want your thoughts. If you want part 2, comment, Mr. Wisdom, we need part 2. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button right now. You don't want to miss what happens next. Until we meet again, goodbye.